Hello, Ella here again as promised with the second part of my Cornish names videos. Today I'll be going through my top 10 Cornish names for boys. Starting us off at number 1 is Jago. Jago is the Cornish form of James and also of course Jacob. Jago has been used as a form of James since at least the 12th century, and even when it wasn't being used as a given name in its own right, it was being used as a nickname for James in Cornwall. However, the Welsh form of the name, Jago, actually dates to at least the 6th century, long before James was in use in this country. There was a famous king of Gwynedd called Jago. So that does suggest that Jago might actually have much older Celtic roots. In 2015, Jago ranked 500 in England and Wales, and it was 193 in the southwest, meaning that it's far more popular in Cornwall than in any other region. Personally, Jago is one of my favourite names, not just Cornish names but in general. I think it's a great choice. It's so similar to lots of other top 100 names, the J names like Jacob, James, Jake, Jaden, and the O ending names like Leo, Theo and Hugo, but obviously it's far less common. So it's a familiar sounding name but just a little bit different. And number 2 is Joan, and Joan is the Cornish form of John, which has been used since at least the 16th century. Like most traditional Cornish names, it fell almost completely out of use by the 19th century and was only seems to have been used as a nickname for John in Cornwall until it was revived in the 1960s. In 2015, 22 boys were registered with the name in England and Wales, meaning that it ranked 1,186. However, 19 of those boys were registered in the southwest, where it ranked 228, which shows that it's almost exclusively used in Cornwall. I think Joan's a bit of an undiscovered gem. Not only has it got the popular J initial, which is one of the most popular letters for boys, but it's also similar to the perennial Celtic favourite Owen, as well as the trendy Cohen. Sticking with the J theme, at number 3 is Jory, and Jory is the Cornish form of George. It's actually quite rare as a name at the moment. It's not very often given to more than 3 boys in any given year, which means it doesn't always show up in the official rankings for England and Wales. However, I do think Jory's got loads of potential. It's 2 syllables like so many other fashionable names. It's got the J initial and the ever popular E ending. It also reminds us of Rory and Corey. So Jory is a very rare name, but it sounds just like a popular one. Number 4 is Lowen. Lowen comes from a Cornish verb which means to be happy or to be joyful. It's actually a unisex name, but at the moment it's more common for boys. So for example, in 2015 there were 32 boys which were given the name in England and Wales, but only 4 girls. That means that for boys it ranked 927 nationally, but 228 in the southwest. I think like Joan, Lowen also reminds us of Owen and Cohen and Bowen, but it's got a great upbeat and happy meaning. And number 5 is Ruan. Ruan is a form of Ruan, which was the name of a West Country saint who lived in and around the 6th century, and his name is commemorated in Ruan in Cornwall. The meaning of the name is a little bit unclear, but it's most likely connected to the Latin Roman, which of course means a Roman. In 2015, the name ranked 1,327 in England and Wales, and it was 326 in the southwest. I think Ruan's got bags of potential, especially as it's so similar to the rising favourites Roman and Rowan. Number 6 is Locryn. Locryn is the Cornish form of Locrinus, who was a legendary king of Britain. His name actually comes from the Welsh Lloegr, which now in modern Welsh means England, but it used to refer to the borderland between England and Wales and what is now the southeast of England. And it's associated with King Arthur's legendary realm. Locryn ranked 2,483 in England and Wales in 2015, and it was 487 in the southwest, meaning that the vast majority of Locryns are actually in and around Cornwall. I think Locryn's got a lot of potential. It sounds a lot like that fabulous Scottish name Locryn. It's got the fashionable N ending, but it's also a little bit unusual. Number 7 is Treeve. Treeve can either be spelt with a double E or an EA, and it's a name found in lots of places in Cornwall. The name comes from the Cornish trevo, which means farmstead, village or home, which is why lots of places in Cornwall start with Trev. Treeve came into use as a given name in the 1950s, but it's mostly just been used in Cornwall. It's actually quite rare and it hasn't been used more than 3 times in any given year, which is why it doesn't show up at all in the England and Wales official rankings. I think Treeve is a pretty cool name. I think it would make a really good middle name especially. It's short, it's sweet and it packs a punch. Number 8 is Piran, which is about as Cornish as you can get. St Piran is the patron saint of Cornwall, which is why the people of Cornwall every year celebrate St Piran's Day on the 5th of March. It can be spelt Piran, Perrin or Perrin, but Piran is the most common form of the name. Piran is the Cornish equivalent of Kieran, which in Celtic languages means the little dark one, which means that Piran's roots are very anciently Celtic. In 2015, Piran ranked 406 in the southwest and Perrin ranked 602, but it's very rare outside of Cornwall in the rest of the UK. And number 9 is Corentyn, and Corentyn is the Cornish spelling of the Breton name Quentin, which was born by a 5th century saint who was a bishop in Brittany. The name is very rare even in Cornwall, but I just love it for its boldness and its gravitas. I get the same feeling from a similar Cornish name, Quentin, which is the Cornish form of Constantine. I know that I'm probably the only one who's going to like these names, but I just think that they're pretty cool. Finally, at number 10 is Mawgan, and Mawgan is a name that comes from 2 places called St Mawgan in Cornwall. On the surface it looks like this Mawgan is just the Cornish form of the Welsh Morgan, but most experts believe that the 2 aren't actually related, and that's because this St Morgan's name was recorded as Morcant in old medieval records, which philologically, that's quite fun to say, it doesn't actually match up to Morgan later on. It's unclear what this Mawgan means, but it's possibly related to the Old Welsh mawl, meaning praise. In 2015, the name ranked 3004 in England and Wales, but it was 602 in the southwest. So I think Mawgan is a great name if you really like the Welsh Mawgan but want a Cornish version. And that's all for my top 10 Cornish boys' names. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what your favourite Cornish names are.